Hey, it's Matt Brown. I'm a Chicago guitarist and teacher, and I play and sing in a rock band called Dead Parade. We're doing some Jane's Addiction here that one of you requested. This is Classic Girl from the Ritual album. So this one is in standard tuning. We're in the key of A major, so let's get after this. So as I said, we're in the key of A, and the A chord that we're starting with is our good old tried and true one. A little word about tone too. He's using his bridge pickup, some chorus, and a little bit of a reverb. So if you want to dial in that tone, that's what he's doing. And for chorus, he uses the Boss, probably at the time the CH1. That's what I'm using right now. So the original Boss chorus. All right. So this A chord. A word about this. This A chord can sound sharp and out of tune if you fret it a little bit too heavily, or if you manhandle it a little bit. So you always want to play it with the least amount of pressure to hold the notes down. Otherwise, that A chord, whenever you play it, is going to sound sharp and bad. Alright, so the next chord that we're going to have in the progression, you're just taking the shape of your A chord, the open, 2, 2, 2, open, and you're sliding that shape up to the 7th fret. So now your 5th string is still open, and your high E is still open. So that would be open, 7, 7, 7, open. And that makes a D add 9 chord with an A in the bass. So what we do is this. Alright, that's the first bit. Then the next chords we're going to use, he's basically playing over a D major harmony. And the chords that he's using to do this are a D sus2. So that would be open 4th string, 2, 3, open. And then he embellishes that with a D6-9 chord. So that's open D, 4th string, 2, open, open. So you get this in the first measure. Okay, the next measure he switches to a D6 chord, which is open, 2, open, 2. Kind of a cool, happy, mysterious sounding chord. And then that goes to the sus4 version of that. So that's open, 2, open, 3. So this measure sounds like... Again. So the whole part. And we do that again. Now this last time we just have 2 measures, and we're going to stay on an A chord. So the last 2 measures sound like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So we're sliding this A shape up to 2 frets, and that's where we're going to start the verse part. We're going to start it with that chord. So that chord, I'm going to call it a B at 11 with an A in the bass. So that's open, 4, 4, 4, open. And the fingering that I use, I like to use 2, 1, 3 for the fingering. Some people like 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I find I can keep it in tune the best and move it around with this one. Alright, so anyways, I'll kind of play through the verse and how that goes. So it's long. It's a long verse. Let's talk about what's going on with this. So this is, as I said, a B add 11 chord. And then, so he's embellishing that by making it a dominant seventh sometime, by adding the pinky finger to the first string. So, something like... So what he's doing, over the B chord, embellishing it with that, or making a suspended 4, which would be putting your pinky at the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So those chord embellishments. Then he's just going back to the A chord for the following measure. And then the next measure he makes it in A sus2, so that's making the 2nd string open. And you get, and then before of that measure he switches back to the A chord and then slides up, so you get 4 E and and then it starts again. Now the last time, after you do the B7 chord, instead of doing the A chord type thing, he goes back to this D add 9 with the A and the bass that we had from the beginning of the song, and plays this. So it's just this add 9, he's adding the sus4 by putting the pinky at the 8th fret, and then just going back to the add 9. Alright, so what happens next is a chorus, and the chorus is the same as the intro. So nothing new to talk about there. The next part is the interlude, so we'll take a look at that. So at the interlude we have an A chord, and then a C/A. So that's just moving your A chord up to the 5th fret basically, and keeping the open strings the same. That D add 9 over A, back to the C/A, back to A. So this is a very Led Zeppelin-y sounding thing to my ears. Also, I should mention there's an A sus2 in here as well. That's the one where you're doing the A and lifting up on the 2nd string. So anyway, the part sounds like this. So that's how that sounds. One of the other chords, the weird thing, or the other chord, the acoustic guitar is just doing an A chord over top of this. So you get like this chord that's staying the same, and some chords that change in the other guitar parts. The other part is just... strumming an A chord. Alright, so the next time that the riff is played, it's a little bit different. So you're going to start with the A sus2 chord, and then end with the A, and then the next measure would be like that, and then that repeats again. Alright, so then we're back to a verse part. So with the second verse, the first guitar is exactly the same. What happens is at the end of the verse, when the B add 11 chord comes in, a second guitar playing it like this, so muted 2, 4, 4, 4, 2. And I do this with finger 1, 2, 3, 4. It comes in, and you have this kind of like background acoustic figure that sounds like. So that's just your B add 11 to a D sus2. That's what the acoustic is doing. So we're now to another chorus. The main electric part it's the intro part, as I've already discussed. The acoustic is doing some different voicings in a more sparse rhythm. So I'll just play the acoustic part for this chorus for you. We get Alright, so the last part to talk about of this song is the outro, which is the first 8 bars are played over the same riff that I call the interlude. So the acoustic and the electric guitar are the same. What happens is a third guitar now comes in and plays kind of like this little melody thing over top of it. So I'll play what that sounds like. It's mainly just an arpeggiation of the various chords. Okay, so that's it. So what we're doing is playing double stops for the A chord, just playing 6 and 5. For the C chord, 5 and 5, back to 6 and 5 for A. Then for the D chord, he's sliding from 5 to 7 on your 4th string. And then the D chord's just fretted 7, 7, 7 with your first finger. And then that goes back into... And this A chord is played 7, 6, 5 open. So you get this cool unison at the top. Alright, so then what happens, the chord progression changes. So let's look at what the rhythm guitars are doing for that next little part. So pretty much what the rhythm does is it switches between the A/C, and then it goes back to an A and an A sus2 like this. Like that. So pretty simple. The last time it does just like a... And then like the little lead thing that happens at the end. Let me explain that. So what you're doing is you're starting with the D5. So that's open, 2, 3, 5. So you're doing this type thing. So there's a melody that's changing on the first string. So that chord. So that's putting the sharp 11 or the 4th fret in. sus2 to D. So that's how that little part goes. And that repeats. And then we have an A chord, and then as it's fading out, you have a D major 7 play up at the 5th fret. So that's 5, 7, 6, 7, 5. And as you're doing this arpeggio thing, decrease the volume, so a decrescendo at the end there, and that's all there is to it. So this one's a little bit more complicated. If you want the tabs to look at the specific rhythms that he's playing, which I would recommend, get in touch with me and I will send that stuff your way. So I've got more Jane's Addiction, more Nirvana, more Soundgarden coming in the near future.